Welcome to Payback with Silas. Every day, a new story, lies, betrayal, payback. Let's begin.
I remember the exact smell of the coffee that morning, burnt French roast and cheap vanilla creamer. It was the kind of scent that lingered in your clothes longer than it should. It was a Tuesday in late October, cold and gray in Fort Worth, Texas. The kind of day where the sky looks like it's holding a grudge. I walked into Lockridge Industries like I had for the past 24 years. Same parking spot. Same mug on my desk. Same rhythm. Except, that morning, I noticed something was off. The receptionist, Lana, didn't meet my eyes when I passed. She usually smiled, cracked a joke about my old leather briefcase. Today? She looked like she was trying not to be seen at all. Upstairs, people were quieter. Heads down. I could feel the tension like static before a storm. My office was still mine, corner room, second floor, overlooking the loading bay. I'd earned it. Climbed every rung of the ladder, from production supervisor to chief operations officer. When I started here, the company was just a family-run manufacturing firm with rust on its bones. I helped turn it into a multi-state operation. And now, it felt like the walls were whispering something I hadn't caught onto yet. At 9:06 a.m., my office phone buzzed. "Mr. Holloway," said Lana's voice, hesitant. "Mr. Lockridge wants to see you." His son, I mean. There it was. The kid. His name was Cashin Lockridge, and even the name sounded like it came with a private yacht and a coke habit. He was 28. Fresh off a 6-month executive integration program and a useless MBA from some overpriced school in Vermont. 2 weeks ago, his father, Marshall Lockridge, stepped down from the CEO role. Quietly. We all knew it was coming. What we didn't know was how fast Cashin would start throwing his weight around. I walked into the executive conference room and saw him at the head of the table, legs crossed, sipping espresso from a glass cup like he was trying to look European. "Alex Holloway," he said, grinning like he was about to offer me a promotion. I didn't shake his hand. "Cashin." He leaned back, resting his arms on the chair like a kid trying to fill his father's shoes. "Let me be blunt," he said, flipping open a sleek leather folder. "We're restructuring. Modernizing. And unfortunately, your role is part of the old model." Just like that. No warning. No performance review. Not even a goddamn thank you. He called me obsolete like I was a fax machine. I stared at him. Didn't blink. I could have told him that the supplier contracts he was about to sign were poison. That he was over-leveraging into automation without backup logistics. But I didn't. I just nodded. "Got it," I said quietly. "You'll get my keycard and badge by noon." He blinked like he expected me to beg, argue, something. But I didn't give him that. I walked out, past Lana, who now wouldn't even look at me, and took one last look at the place I'd helped build. But here's the thing about burning a bridge behind you. You'd better be damn sure I don't own the river. When I got home that day, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I sat at my kitchen table, poured myself a glass of Four Roses bourbon, and just stared at the wood grain. My wife, Elaine, came in quietly. She's the kind of woman who doesn't ask questions right away, she waits until you're ready to speak. She set a plate in front of me. Tuna salad sandwich, just like every Tuesday for the past 20 years. I took a bite. Chewed slowly. Swallowed. Then I said, "They fired me." She didn't blink. Just sat down. "Cashin?" I nodded. "You gonna fight it?" I looked at her for a long second and said, "No. I'm gonna let him enjoy his first night as king." That night, while Cashin Lockridge was probably celebrating with overpriced whiskey and ego-stroking interns, I opened an old file cabinet in my home office. Inside was a black binder with a red elastic strap. Faded. Thick. Heavy. It held every agreement I'd ever signed with Lockridge Industries. Every clause, every memo, every silent deal Marshall Lockridge and I had ever made. Because I wasn't just some hired suit. Back in 2007, when the company was bleeding money and banks wouldn't touch us, I wrote a check. Not a loan. An investment. Marshall needed liquidity fast, and no one else trusted the company. I did. So he sold me 34% equity, through a private holding vehicle registered in Delaware. Quiet. Clean. Legal. Cashin never knew. Marshall never told him. It was our understanding. I kept the company alive. He kept me close. But now that trust was broken. And I still had my ownership stake. Next morning, 7:42 a.m., I emailed my attorney, Michael Serrano. Real sharp guy. Wears cheap suits, but don't let that fool you. He once made a logistics firm CEO cry in arbitration. Subject line was simple. Initiate withdrawal from Lockridge Industries. Sell to open market. No NDA. By 9:30 a.m., the first ripple hit. Cashin called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then he texted. Hey Alex, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we talk? No. You don't talk to the furniture you threw out the day before. By noon, news started spreading. An internal memo leaked. My name was still on corporate ownership filings. The board panicked. Investors panicked. Cashin, he lost his mind. At 2:07 p.m., he stormed into his father's house. I wasn't there, but I heard it later from one of the staff who still talks to Elaine. Cashin shouted. Why didn't you tell me he owns a third of the damn company? Marshall looked him dead in the eye and said. Because I didn't think you'd be dumb enough to fire him. The next day, my phone rang again. Not Cashin this time. Marshall himself. I answered. Silence on the line for a few seconds. Then. Alex, we need to talk. I took a breath and said. No, Marshall. You need to listen. When Marshall Lockridge calls you personally, it's not just a call. It's an event. The man built an empire with nothing but steel nerves and a Rolodex of people who owed him favors. So when he said, Alex, we need to talk, I let that silence hang for a good 3 seconds before answering. We had an understanding, I said. I know. Your kid broke it. He sighed. He's young. He made a mistake. No, Marshall. He made a decision. And now he gets to live with it. I agreed to meet anyway. Not because I owed him, but because I wanted to see the face of a man watching his legacy slip through his fingers. We met at the Kavanaugh Club, a quiet old-school steakhouse in downtown Fort Worth. Dark wood panels, no music, just forks clinking and deals being made over scotch and dry-aged ribeyes. Marshall was already seated when I arrived. Navy suit. No tie. 2 fingers of bourbon in a crystal glass. He looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Or maybe I was just seeing him without the pedestal for the first time. Alex, he said, motioning to the chair. I sat. Didn't touch the drink the waiter brought me. He got right to it. Cashin's an idiot. But he's still my son. I was hoping you'd come back in an advisory role. We'll correct the mistake, make a formal apology, privately, of course. Keep your shares, keep your title. Just let's get back to normal. I stared at him. Then laughed once. Just once. Quiet, sharp. You think this is about a job? He didn't answer. Marshall, I said, your son humiliated me. Not just privately. In front of your staff. In my own office. He made a point to tell me I was the past. Dead weight. I leaned in slightly. I'm not coming back. He looked like he'd been slapped. Then what do you want? Now that was the real question. I stood up and threw down my napkin. I want Cashin to feel what it's like to be irrelevant. I want the board to realize who kept the lights on. And I want Lockridge Industries to know what happens when you throw out the wrong man. I looked him in the eyes. I built a quarter of your company with my bare hands. Now I'm gonna build something better. Something faster. Smarter. Leaner. Pause. And I'm gonna take your clients with me. Then I left. Didn't touch the stake. Next morning, I called 3 people. Callie Vernon, former head of procurement. Deshaun Marks, logistics director, my right hand. Rachel Linwood, head of regional sales. By noon, they had all quit Lockridge. By Friday, I'd filed articles of incorporation. New company name, Holloway Strategic Industries. Fresh branding. Modern infrastructure. No legacy baggage. By the end of the month, 5 of Lockridge's mid-tier clients had scheduled meetings with me. By the end of the quarter, 2 of their top clients signed letters of intent. Cashin? He kept calling. Emails. Texts. Voice messages. Last one just said, "You're ruining everything." No, kid. I'm not ruining anything. I'm just reminding you who really ran the show. Some people think revenge is loud. Explosive. But the best kind is silent. Strategic. It's not about screaming. It's about timing. About knowing exactly when to pull the trigger, and where it'll hurt the most. By early December, Holloway Strategic Industries had already carved a hole into Lockridge's side. Clients were coming to me, not because I begged, but because I listened. Something Cashin never learned to do. While he posted motivational quotes on LinkedIn and launched flashy PR campaigns, I was sitting across from real people, logistics managers, regional directors, operations leads, hearing what Lockridge never fixed, and promising something better. And then? I delivered. Every time. I wasn't just building a company. I was reminding the industry who the real brain behind Lockridge had been. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. One of Lockridge's board members, Judith Monroe, sharp as a knife and twice as cold, reached out discreetly. Said she wanted to talk. I already knew why. The numbers had started bleeding. Contracts were leaving. Morale was crumbling. Cashin had led with ego, not experience. And now the wolves were circling. We met in Dallas, in a private lounge above a boutique hotel in Uptown. She wore a steel gray blazer and had 2 phones on the table. No small talk. "Alex," she said, "some of us on the board believe Cashin might not be the right fit long-term." I said nothing. Just waited. If there was a vote of no confidence, she went on, and if someone with experience, say, you, made a formal proposal, there's a chance the board could back it. I leaned back. Why would I want to return to a company that spat me out like garbage? She raised an eyebrow. Because it's still yours. You bled for it. Built it. And frankly, it's falling apart without you. I thought for a long moment. Then shook my head. No. Judith looked surprised. Then what do you want? I smiled. I want to watch it burn. And I want Cashin to hand me the matches. Next week, Lockridge Industries scheduled an emergency board meeting. Cashin didn't know I would be attending, until I walked into that glass-paneled room on the 19th floor of their downtown HQ. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. What the hell is he doing here? Marshall was there, too. Stone-faced. Silent. Judith simply said, "As a major shareholder, Mr. Holloway has every right to be here." Then the meeting began. And I watched, quietly, calmly, as 5 out of 8 board members tore into Cashin like piranhas. Financial mismanagement. Bad press. Missed quarterly targets. Then Judith turned to me. "Mr. Holloway, if you had remained in your position, would these outcomes have occurred?" I paused for effect. Let the silence work for me. "No," I said. "They wouldn't have. But I didn't leave. I was pushed. I glanced at Cashin. By a boy who thought a title made him a leader. The vote was called. Cashin Lockridge, officially removed from the CEO position. He stood there, stunned. Speechless. Marshall didn't say a word. Then, right before I left the room, I turned back and said, "Cashin, you didn't just fire the wrong man. Pause. You lit the fuse under your own chair." And I walked out. Not to reclaim my old title. Not to beg for a throne. But because I had one final move left. After the board meeting, I drove out to a quiet overlook just outside Fort Worth. No calls. No music. Just the wind and the open sky. I sat there for a long time, thinking. Not about Cashin. Not about Lockridge. About who I was before all of this. Because when you spend decades building someone else's dream, it's easy to forget that you ever had your own. 2 weeks later, Cashin Lockridge resigned from all remaining positions. Publicly, they called it a strategic transition. Privately, he was done. Disgraced. Marshall tried to do damage control. Hired PR firms. Restructured leadership. But it was too late. Clients had already shifted to Holloway Strategic Industries. Because in business, reputation moves faster than marketing. And when word gets out that the man who actually knew how to run the ship started his own fleet, people swim toward the new flag. By March, we had contracts in 5 states. I hired lean. Efficient. No bloated exec teams, no boardroom ego wars. Just people who knew their job and did it damn well. Callie ran procurement like a general. Deshawn turned our logistics model into a blueprint so clean other companies tried to copy it. Rachel doubled our first quarter sales projections. We weren't just surviving. We were thriving. One morning, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Marshall. "You were always the better man, Alex. I built the company, but you gave it a soul. I hope one day, my son learns what leadership truly looks like. Until then, you earned everything. Even this." Inside was a check. He'd bought out my remaining shares at full market value, triple what I paid for them all those years ago. I didn't cash it. I framed it. Hung it in the office. Right under our company motto. Built with backbone. People ask me sometimes if I miss Lockridge. The office. The title. The name. No. I don't miss being someone else's right hand. I don't miss being tolerated until I was no longer useful. Because now I'm not building a company to impress shareholders. I'm building one to outlive me. That's the difference between a hired suit and a man who knows exactly what he's worth. Cashin fired me to erase me. Instead, he made me unforgettable. You fired the wrong man, kid. And now? I own the whole damn game.